I got 2 words for you. Food trucks.
Oh my gosh. Food trucks are epic over here. It's every single event is filled with food trucks.
Yeah. Okay, we are back. As you have learned, we are in South Carolina and we moved from California. The one thing that might be in your mind is fear. I'm afraid to leave what I consider my home state.
I'm a native, so I was born and raised my whole life in the state, and then he came out in the 90s and was there over 30 years, so close enough.
Right. And a lot of you might be deciding not to move because of the unknown. Like you just don't know what it would be like to live somewhere else. And we're here to help you with that.
It's actually something that we get asked a lot. Is it worth it? What's it like? We got a call the other day from a friend and they were, like, so are you still like almost, he didn't want to say it, but it was like, do you regret it?
Right.
And my answer to him was, it gets better every week.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
The fear every week of like, what have we done? Is getting further and further behind, right? The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. So we're kind of keeping that perspective in mind, and we're hoping that it serves you and helps you if you're on the fence of should I, shouldn't I?
Top 2 things that I can think of are humidity and bugs.
Weather and bugs. When we told people that we were moving here, that was like the big.
Or we were going to get eaten by alligators. That was the other.
Yeah, well, how can you get near water? You're going to be eaten by a gator, which I still kind of.
I won't be swimming in any lakes, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I do keep the dog away from the waterways. Anyway, weather and bugs. Go, Dan.
Right. So, as far as the weather is concerned, we decided to be strategic about it.
Yeah.
So we came out, we said, what's the hottest, worst time to come out to South Carolina? And people were like, well, it's summer. So we came out in like, I want to say mid-August. And
smack in the middle.
What do you think? What was your take on that?
It's like Africa hot. Tarzan couldn't take this kind of hot.
Well, like I said, we lived in the Central Valley of California, started in Visalia and then moved to Bakersfield. So we are very, very used to triple digit heats for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lick of humidity really in Bakersfield or Visalia, just dry heat.
Yeah, man, but it's a dry heat.
Right.
So we were expecting, as people said, like, oh, it's hell in this, it's hell. And we were like, well, if we're going to be moving to hell, we should probably go there and make sure it's, livable.
Right.
Whatever. We stayed in an Airbnb. The air conditioner worked. We had a rental car. Air conditioner worked. We weren't like in the elements, but we felt it. We had okay, well, you're from Illinois, so you probably felt it way more than I did.
Yep. Yeah, in Illinois, they have humidity.
Just like those stretches of triple digit heat in, the Central Valley, where you think, good Lord, is it ever going to cool off? It ends here too. Like I would say probably by early September, we moved in the summer. They got here in July. Me and my son got here in July with the cats. I got here with the dog in August. So it was hot and it was muggy, but it didn't last. Like I would say by middle of September, it was like breezy and cool-ish.
Yeah.
Like it was still, 80s and 90-degree days.
Funny side note is when we were out visiting one time, we were in like a taxi cab, I want to say, and this lady made a comment. She said, yeah, there's humidity, but think of it this way. It's 30% hell and then 70% paradise. And I just thought that was like, well, I'll take 70% paradise.
Right?
In my opinion, it's no different than what we experienced in California. Although, if you go into like wooded areas, you're going to get attacked. But if you're out and about in like neighborhoods,
we moved to a pretty sterile new construction area. So like they've already taken care of all of, moving out all of the varmints or whatever. But we did go to this little, we went exploring and we stepped, what was that thing we did? We parked or whatever. Like, oh, it's this. Yeah. It's like a nature walk. And you stepped beyond these trees and it was like an instant, they were all over us. We're like, we're going to do the nature walk another time.
After we have our sprays.
It was like, okay, this is not worth continuing on.
There was something that I was not prepared for as far as the weather is concerned. Everyone said humidity and bugs, and that's all I knew. But when we got here, we got to experience a little thing called hurricanes. And this young lady happened to show up
Hurricane Debbie.
right at the beginning of Hurricane Debbie, where it dumped like
30 inches
yeah.
of rain or
Yeah.
something crazy. So there comes a time when you're traveling across the country. We took 40 and you have to make a decision. You're either going to go down through Georgia and up over to where we are, or you come down through like a little bit of Tennessee and then like North Carolina and down. We are in Summerville, South Carolina. We are in a suburb of Charleston, about 25 miles from Charleston. When he drove with our son, and they didn't have Hurricane Debbie, so they had just regular old weather coming up through Georgia and through Charleston.
We
That
had
area.
rain in Oklahoma. That was
Right.
like 4 hours worth, but we'll talk about that some other time.
But when he and I were coming across, they came in July, we came in August. So when he and I were coming across, we came through because Hurricane Debbie was coming up through Georgia, Florida, and the other parts of the South Carolina. So we were trying to head it off coming down. I was in tears. He's driving. I was a mess. What have we done? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You learn what the highest setting on the windshield wipers is for. And here's a fun tip. People use their hazard lights because the visibility is so bad that the flashing lights are the only way you can tell that there's a car in front of you. So that's some
Little intense.
significant rain.
Hey, welcome to South Carolina. Here's Hurricane Debbie. Oh, and then in a couple of weeks, you'll get Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
And then you'll get, what was the other one? No, there's
Milton.
Milton, yeah. And then Hurricane Milton. Welcome to the southeast part of the United
And I'm
States.
guessing that people in South Carolina don't name their kids after hurricanes. They're just ruining names for people.
Before we moved here, I remember reading like a stat of like 2024 is going to be the biggest year for hurricanes in the southeast. And I'm like, lovely. That's
Yeah.
where I'm moving.
Our house is going to get demolished.
Yeah. But thankfully, praise the Lord, we had little to no impact of the damage that was done by all of those hurricanes. A ton of rain, a ton of water, very little debris that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
We, again, are a suburb, so we're not at sea level, and we did not have a lot of the impact.
Thumbs up for the developers of our track because there was no flooding of any kind.
Yeah.
Because we have retention ponds and things like that. So,
Yeah, that's
so
where we're
a
at.
way not to be afraid
Yeah, there
to
you go.
leave California is to check what are the flood zones. Am I buying a house that might be in an area where it's not going to be conducive to me having an easy time living there?
You just don't have that in California. We don't have this kind of weather in California.
Weather
so.
is fun. I will tell you that. Since moving to South Carolina, I love that I don't know what it's going to be like outside. Is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be sunny? Is it going to be cold? That's one thing I really like about being here.
So if your fear is, what am I going to do for work? If your work does not transfer from California to South Carolina, I can tell you there are so many opportunities around here. I feel like I see a now hiring sign everywhere. We've got 85 million Facebook groups for our communities. And when somebody says, I'm XYZ, I'm moving from Maryland and I do XYZ landscaping, or I do, plumbing, or I do, they're like, oh, here's the company you want to go to. Here's the website for their hiring page. Like, it is unbelievable.
Well, and also the building in the area, they're like developing everywhere. They're widening roads. They're putting up office structures and shopping centers.
It is a red state, and there is a lot of economic reasons to, if you have a small business, you have a small business idea, there's tons of those there's no chains here, really. It's all mom and pop small businesses.
I got 2 words for you. Food trucks.
Oh my gosh. Food trucks are epic over here. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
They're everywhere.
At every event.
They have every type of food you could think of.
Yes. And if there's like what did we go to? We went to the Summerville, the Sweet Tea Festival. We went to the Italian Festival.
Mhm.
We've gone to they have this thing called Third Thursday. Every single event is filled with food trucks.
Yeah.
And then the small businesses also have their little pop-ups at all of the events. So if you are somebody that is thinking about I'd like to start, I'd like to become, I'd like to transfer my business from here to there, I would not let that fear hold you back.
You'll probably make more money because you'll be paying less for regulations. And just as an example of how easy it is to find work. Our son, who has just turned 16, there's a major grocery store in town. They were having like an open call for hiring.
Because they're building so many grocery stores.
He went in, within a half hour, they're like, you've got the job. I mean, the kid had no on paper work experience, but he interviewed well and the opportunity was there. And
It was so cool. It was so cool.
And then, contrary to that, he's got friends that are in California that have been trying to get jobs for months, and there's either nothing available or there's too many people that are applying to where you have to be top notch to get in, and they're struggling to just get their foot in the door to find a place to work.
And he, by the way, is seeing the difference between growing up in California and like the decline of the state and what's going to happen here. To like here, he sees the same thing that we see of like opportunity and tech schools and trade schools and yes, 4-year colleges, but like he's just like jonesing to get out and be a part of the workforce. So it's really optimistic for him, like as far as like future growth.
Career,
future career. He's stoked. So don't be afraid. There's plenty to do and grow and work and build here.
So the next topic that we want to tackle is cost of living, because of course people would say, well, no wonder you moved to South Carolina because I'm sure it's cheaper. So is that true? What do you say?
Gas is cheaper. Groceries, I haven't really noticed a big difference. I mean, I guess it depends on where you shop. Just like in California, we used to shop at Winco and Costco and Trader Joe's.
Quick story, gonna boil my blood. We got solar in 2012 back in California, and it was going good because we were feeding the extra energy back into the grid, so our bills were pretty low. Well, then PG&E was like, well, we're not making enough money doing it that way. So then
it was owned. We did not lease. We owned it. We're Dave Ramsey nerds, so we own everything.
So then they want to put us on this 4 to 9 are like peak hours where your energy costs are going to be higher. Well, then our bill, we might as well not have even got solar, because the way it mathed out was, short story, in August of 2024, our last electric bill was $475, which is just ridiculous.
With own solar, no pool, and we weren't even that was July. That was when it was just me and the dog living in the house before we moved.
Yeah. And then here, we haven't had a bill, and trust me, I like it cold in the house. If it's 75 or lower, cool, I'm happy. Our bills haven't gone over 200 one time in these peak months, and I'm anxious to see what it's going to look like in the wintertime, but just amazing how inexpensive. Also, home internet. We were paying $105 in California, and the reason we were spending $105 is because we needed a higher upload speed, which is 20 kilobits per second instead of 10. Whoop-de-doo. And here, we're paying $75 a month. We've got up to 500 kilobits per second download and upload. And it's a local company, which if we can support local businesses, we're trying to do that. And they're phenomenal and not a glitch in the system. And it's just, so cost of living as far as like home matters, it's a pleasure to write out the bills every month. Where in California, you're like,
pissed.
why are they doing this to us? And why are they adding more taxes to everything? And why are they jacking up the prices for no reason? And it's all this infrastructure stuff. And it's like, we're blessed. If you had fear about cost of living, there is nothing to be afraid of.
And along those lines, if you are thinking about moving here to South Carolina, we are both licensed real estate agents. I'm still licensed in California as well. If you go into the description of the video or on the podcast, there is a small survey where you can fill out what it is you might be looking for. 3-bedroom, 55 and older, you want to be on a golf course, you want to be near the water, whatever the case may be. And you fill that out and we could put you in the MLS so that you can start to get the type of houses that you might potentially want to move to in this area. If this is popping up on your radar, whether it's just you and your spouse, whether it's your whole family, whatever the case may be, feel free to go down in there and fill that out. And we'd be happy to set that up for you.
Yeah, we'd love to explore with you.
Yeah. To be prepared to not know where you are. Like being a native of California, like whether you're talking about Poway or you're talking about Tahoe or anything in between, like I know the freeways, we know our way around. Mm-hmm. It is something to be prepared for, to just be clueless about like what city somebody's talking about, what freeway they're talking about, how long it's going to take you to get there. Like, I have to say that was one thing that I'm still struggling with as far as like, okay, I don't need to know it all within the first, 3.5 months of living here. Like, it's going to take time for me to understand and know the state like I did my native state.
Here's the good news. If you do get lost, it's beautiful here.
Going places that I've never been, seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
That is true.
Wherever you're lost, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
these trees.
That
are
has happened more than
beautiful.
once. Yes.
the sky
Yeah.
and the beautiful clouds. So
That
you
has
will
happened.
not be that upset. You'll be flustered, but there's plenty of pretty stuff to look at. And there will be stuff that you'll miss, okay? There's stuff that California has that you won't find here. The big one for our son is In-N-Out. He is crushed. Fortunately, they're building a headquarters in Tennessee, so that's going to be a trip for us. You want to go see Times Square or the Golden Gate Bridge? No, I want to go to the In-N-Out headquarters in Tennessee. And sourdough bread, good luck. I don't even know if they know what that is.
It's a unicorn. Nobody knows. They're like, oh, do you make it? I'm like, no. If I made it, I would not be able to walk through a doorway and leave my house. So no, I'm not making it. I want to buy the San Francisco, not like La Boudin, but like the, what is it? San Luis.
Yeah, that's some
You
good
can
sourdough.
get it anywhere in California, but it's not here. It is a unicorn. So if you're coming to visit, we might have you put a loaf or two in your carry-on like we did with our daughter. We were like, listen, go to the store, get some sourdough. We had a whole list of things that
Get
we
us some bulk candy for Halloween
Yeah.
from Winco.
yeah, she put it in her carry-on. God love her.
Yeah.
She loves her parents.
Yeah.
We're in a position that we could leave. There are a lot of people that elderly parents, new grandkids that they're not going to be 5 minutes from. So we get it. We are like in a season of our life where we could move. And if that's
Yes.
you, I would say do it now because our daughter is still in California. Depending on when you're watching this, it's on her radar to come to this coast. And it is not easy, but it's collateral damage of the move. Like we knew like, okay, we can stay here. And if she starts to, fall in love and start a family, then we're not going to be moving. So we had to take the leap.
The thing I'm most excited about is exploring the East Coast. I mean, we can drive and go to multiple states within a day, where in California, you could drive 8 hours and still be in California. So just the opportunity to be able to go to Pennsylvania or New York or Georgia or Florida, and we're 20 minutes from the Charleston International Airport. So for example, if I want to go visit my mom who's still in Illinois, tickets are like $100 to $200 versus $600 to $800 coming from California.
And the Charleston airport is very similar in size and dimension to like the Orange County airport. It's not too big like LAX or O'Hare, but it's navigable where you're like, oh, okay. And you drive by, pick them up, and you're on your way. It's not overwhelming at all.
One of the best things they have at the Charleston airport is they have a cell phone parking lot. So what that means is if your loved one is coming in on a flight, instead of clogging up the terminal to pick people up, you just wait in a parking lot. When they text you, that's why they call it the cell phone parking lot, then you know,
It's
okay, time to get them. And it literally takes a minute to 2 minutes from there to pick them up at the terminal and be on your way. So,
And probably one of the absolute biggest draws for us to move to the Somerville area. So remember, I'm from California. I grew up in Southern California in the Long Beach, Lakewood, Cerritos area. So I grew up 15 to 20 minutes from the ocean. And then when we started a family and we moved up to be near family, making grandbabies and all that, we moved to the Central Valley, first in Visalia and then to Bakersfield. So in the Central Valley, it's great as far as like being 2 hours from things, but to go to the beach was like a day trip. It's 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on where you go. Well, when we were looking about places to move, we went to Idaho, we looked at Tennessee, we looked at Texas, we looked at Georgia, Florida. When we were looking at South Carolina, specifically Somerville, we were like, we're going to be less than an hour from the beach.
yeah, from multiple beaches. Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
warm water beaches.
And yeah, the water in the ocean, it's like getting into a bathtub during the summertime. It's like there's none of this like you know, when the water gets up to your
Privates.
pelvic area, and you're like, hoochie, hachi. You don't have any of that. You can just whoop,
Yeah.
run it, and it's shallow forever. Like I was scared to go out as far as I could to see when it would drop off, but it's shallow for a long time.
Folly Beach, Isle of Palms. I mean, from our driveway to Folly Beach, which is a very popular place to go, like in this, you know, just to go walk on the beach or, you know, go have a sandwich or something by the water. It's 51 minutes. I think we timed it from our garage to like when we were parking and getting out at the lot. That was a huge draw for us. But you've got social media, you've got a phone, you've got videos, like the time and place for people to be completely isolated and not know what's going on with you, I think are totally gone.
If you got through COVID, you can move to a new community.
In COVID, we went on vacation to Florida. We were doing everything we could to get out of California.
Anywhere where they said, you don't have to wear a mask here. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
Where is
Florida, Georgia. We came to South Carolina. I mean, more than one time because we were like,
freedom.
We need to be around people that are like, you know, living life. So there's a ton of opportunity and exciting things that we can't wait to show you on this channel. We're excited, but we definitely wanted to address this issue because it's been the most conversation I think we've had since moving.
Well, and if you guys have other fears that we haven't talked about, we'd be more than happy to make a part 2 to address anything that you're like, well, what's that going to be like? Or how does that work?
And feel free to share this, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast. Share this with somebody that you know might be a fence sitter and being like, should we, shouldn't we? We've got so much information and so many fun things planned that we are excited that you're here, and we look forward to you being here week after week. We will be.
Yep.
Thanks for watching and listening.
We'll see you soon.